Welcome to your deep dive. Today we're diving into something you specifically requested, and I have to say, it's not something I knew much about before your request.
Oh, what's that?
It's how to make those really engaging slideshows on TikTok.
Interesting.
I'll be honest, when you sent this in, I thought, slideshows, really?
Uh-huh. I can see that.
But then I checked out this episode of the Digital Creators Unlocked podcast, and wow, was I wrong.
I've heard that's a great podcast.
Yeah, it really opened my eyes. There's a whole world of slideshow creativity happening on TikTok. And it's not just like vacation photos with cheesy music.
No, not at all. It's become a really dynamic format.
That's what I gathered. And that's what we're going to deep dive into today, using that podcast episode as our guide.
Sounds good.
So first things first, the podcast talked about why someone would even want to make a slideshow on TikTok.
Right.
And they made a really good point. You know, it's not just for sharing travel pics. People are using them for all sorts of things.
Oh, absolutely. We see people using them for event recaps, like if they went to a concert or a conference or something.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Product demos, even.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Like instead of just showing the product, they'll create a slideshow that highlights its features or benefits.
I can see how that would be effective.
It's all about visual storytelling. Yeah.
Right. And that seems to be a huge trend these days. Like everywhere you look, it's all about short-form video content and grabbing people's attention quickly.
Exactly. And slideshows can be a really smart way to do that, especially on a platform like TikTok.
For sure. So it seems like we're in the right place at the right time with this deep dive.
Absolutely.
Now, the podcast also laid out a step-by-step guide for creating a slideshow. What's the first step?
Well, it all starts with choosing your photos, which is more involved than it sounds.
I bet. I'm guessing it's not just grabbing any random photos from your phone.
You got it. It's really about curating a selection that tells a cohesive story. Each photo should contribute to the larger narrative you're trying to create.
So, like, if you were making a slideshow about your trip to, let's say, Japan,
Okay. Yeah.
you wouldn't just throw in random photos of temples, sushi, you know.
No, you'd really want to think about the overall story you want to tell. Is it about the tranquility you experienced in those ancient gardens?
Nice.
Or maybe the vibrant energy of Tokyo's nightlife?
Okay, so there needs to be a theme or a feeling.
Exactly. And then you select photos that reinforce that theme.
That's a really good point.
Yeah.
So once you have the photos, what's next?
Well, then it's time to arrange them, right, in the TikTok app.
Right. But again, I'm guessing there's more to it than just uploading them in any old order.
You're catching on quick. Pacing is really important here. TikTok gives you the ability to control how long each photo appears on the screen.
Oh, like how fast the slideshow moves.
Exactly. It's like editing a film. You want to find a rhythm that keeps viewers engaged without feeling too rushed or too slow.
I see.
So a slideshow about a high-energy concert might have faster cuts than one showcasing the beauty of a mountain landscape.
Right, that makes sense. You got to match the pacing to the mood.
Exactly. It's all about creating that flow and keeping people hooked.
Okay, so we've got our photos carefully chosen, arranged for maximum impact.
Right.
What's the next step? What's next in our slideshow journey?
Now it's time for the, I guess you could say, secret sauce. The music.
Oh, music. Now we're talking. I already have like a million song ideas running through my head.
Haha, I bet. But remember, music is more than just picking something catchy. It's a really powerful tool for shaping the emotional tone of your slideshow.
You mean like using a soaring orchestral piece for epic travel footage versus a playful pop song for a fun day at the beach?
Exactly. The right music can transform a simple slideshow into a truly immersive experience. It can evoke laughter, tears, nostalgia, the whole spectrum.
Wow, I never really thought about it that way. I mean, I knew music was important, but
It really elevates the whole thing.
that's amazing. So we've got our photos, our pacing, our music. Are we ready to unleash our slideshow creations on the world?
Almost. We've laid a great foundation, but there are a few more key ingredients that'll take your slideshows to the next level.
Ooh, now I'm really curious.
But you'll have to wait for part 2 of our deep dive to find out.
Okay, so we're back, ready to uncover those secret ingredients you were talking about. Those things that make a TikTok slideshow really special.
You got it. Remember how we talked about the importance of storytelling when choosing your photos?
Yeah.
Well, now we need to zoom out a little and think about the slideshow as a complete narrative.
Okay.
It's not just a string of pretty pictures.
Right. So how do we do that? How do we make sure our slideshow tells a story that people connect with?
It's about going beyond just the visuals, and thinking about the emotions you want to evoke.
Emotions, huh? Interesting.
Yeah. What's the core message or feeling you want your audience to walk away with? What do you want them to feel?
Okay, I think I get that.
Hmm.
So for my Japan trip example, it could be that feeling of awe I felt standing in those incredible temples.
Perfect example.
Or the sense of discovery I felt while wandering through those, like, hidden alleyways in Kyoto.
Exactly. And once you have that core feeling in mind, you can start layering on other elements to reinforce it.
Okay, so music is a big one. We talked about that.
Huge. Yep. But think about other things too, like pacing. We touched on that as well. But even things like text overlays,
Text overlays. Oh, I haven't really used those much.
it can be super effective. They're basically captions or titles that appear on top of your photos, you know?
Okay.
You can use them to add context, highlight key moments, even inject some humor.
So I could add a text overlay that says something like "lost in translation" over a photo of me trying to read a Japanese menu.
Uh-huh. Exactly. Adds a little personality and reinforces that theme of cultural immersion, you know?
Yeah, that's great.
Mm.
I'm seeing how these little details can really make a difference. It's like, the difference between watching a home movie versus like a well-produced documentary.
That's a great way to put it. And speaking of production value, there's another tip from the podcast I thought was really valuable. Consistency.
Consistency. Okay, I'm listening.
It's all about creating a cohesive visual experience, something that's pleasing to the eye, you know?
Gotcha.
This could mean using the same filter or color palette throughout your slideshow, or sticking to a consistent font for your text overlays.
So if I start my Japan slideshow with a bright poppy filter, I wouldn't want to switch to a dark, moody one halfway through.
Exactly. It would feel jarring to the viewer.
Makes sense.
Consistency helps create a smooth, professional look.
Wow.
Makes your slideshow more enjoyable to watch.
It's like having a visual brand for your slideshow.
Yeah, I like that. And it's not just about aesthetics either.
Oh, really?
Consistency also helps with your storytelling. By sticking to a certain visual style, you're subtly guiding your audience through the narrative. Creates more immersive experience.
Wow, this is making me rethink how I approach slideshows.
Right.
It's really about crafting a whole experience.
It is. And the cool thing is, TikTok gives you all the tools you need. It's really just a matter of tapping into your own creativity and experimenting.
Speaking of experimenting, the podcast had this tip that I really loved. Embrace the unexpected.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
What do they mean by that?
It's about thinking outside the box when it comes to content, you know?
So it's not just travel or special events?
No, not at all. I mean, we tend to associate slideshows with those things.
Yeah, I do, for sure.
But you can use them to tell any story you can imagine.
Really? So, like, I could make a slideshow about, I don't know, my cat's daily routine.
Why not? Or
Yeah.
your favorite books, or your journey of learning to play the guitar, anything.
This is amazing. It's like a whole new world of creative possibilities.
And that's the beauty of TikTok slideshows. They're so versatile.
Okay, I am feeling so inspired right now.
Oh,
But before I go off and create a slideshow about, like, my succulent collection, is there anything else we need to talk about?
there's one last piece of the puzzle that's essential for any successful TikTok slideshow.
Uh-oh, another one. I guess we'll have to wait for part 3 to find out. Okay, we're back for the grand finale of our slideshow deep dive. And I am so ready to hear about this last piece of the puzzle. You left us hanging last time.
I know. But it's a good one, I promise. All this amazing storytelling, these visuals, all the stuff we talked about, it won't mean much if nobody sees it right.
True.
So the final piece is engagement.
Engagement. Okay. So we're talking about getting those likes, comments, shares, all that.
You got it. But how do we actually make that happen?
Yeah, that's the big question. It's not like we can just, like, magically make people engage.
No magic bullet, unfortunately. But there are definitely things you can do.
Like what?
Well, first and foremost, remember everything we've already talked about.
Okay, so the stuff from the first 2 parts.
Exactly. Those high-quality visuals, having a strong narrative, a consistent style, those are the foundations.
Right, the basics.
Yeah, those are huge. But then, on top of that, we can layer in elements that specifically encourage interaction.
Okay, I like that. So give me an example.
Think about asking questions in your captions.
Oh, right. So instead of just saying, here's my Japan trip slideshow, I could say something like, what's your dream travel destination?
Exactly.
And then people can answer in the comments.
Exactly. You're inviting them to be part of the conversation.
I like that. Not just watching passively.
Yeah, and you could even do a follow-up slideshow featuring some of the responses.
Oh, cool idea.
Right. It creates a sense of community and keeps people coming back.
That's really clever. It's almost like you're getting content ideas from your audience.
There you go. Another thing that's really effective is using trending sounds or hashtags.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
It helps your slideshow get seen by a wider audience, people who are already interested in that topic.
So we've got visual appeal, we've got those interactive captions, we're using trending sounds. What
Don't
else?
forget about a call to action.
Oh, right, right. Tell people what to do.
Yeah, like encourage them to follow you for more slideshows, or visit your website, or tag a friend who they think would enjoy it.
Give them a reason to stick around.
Exactly. And of course, the most important thing is to bring your own creativity.
That's always the key, isn't it?
It is, don't be afraid to experiment. Find your own style.
You know, at the beginning of this deep dive, I was a little unsure about slideshows on TikTok, if I'm being honest.
I hear that. It's not the first thing that comes to mind, I guess.
No, but you've really changed my perspective. It can
Mhm.
be so much more than just, a bunch of pictures with music.
It's a really powerful way to tell stories, connect with people.
And express yourself creatively. I'm so glad we did this.
Me too. I hope our listener feels inspired.
Yes, listener, if slideshows can do all this on TikTok, imagine what you could do with them elsewhere.
Yeah, so many possibilities.
Instagram stories, Facebook, even presentations. Get creative. Well, that's a wrap on our TikTok slideshow deep dive. We hope you enjoyed the journey and feel inspired to create something amazing.
And until next time, happy creating.
Bye for now.